Life is so much more than a diagnosis. It's about sharing time with those you love, hanging with friends who lift you up, and experiencing all those moments that bring you joy. All hits, no skips. Learn more about Kisqali Ribociclib 200 milligrams at KISQALI.com and talk to your doctor to see if Kisqali is right for you. So long live singing to the oldies, jamming out to something new, and everything in between.
A troubling mystery grips the city of Stockton, California, as a mother of 9 mysteriously disappears. Concern continues to grow as her siblings' calls to her have gone unanswered, leaving the community riddled with questions. As detectives draw closer to the truth, chaos erupts, unraveling the shocking events that led to her vanishing. What happened to Veronica Jones? What happens when love becomes fatal? This is the Fatal Attraction Podcast with Downward Spiral.
June 26, 2011. It's Sunday in Stockton, California, a hard-working city that's both 80 miles and a world away from San Francisco and Silicon Valley.
Stockton is known for being very dull and boring.
It's primarily in a rural area of California in San Joaquin County.
People say there's nothing to do here.
But things do happen. And for Isaac Zuniga, it started with a phone call that afternoon.
Hello?
Isaac gets a call from California Child Protective Services that his sister missed her visitation.
Isaac's sister, 35-year-old Veronica Jones, has court-ordered visitation with her youngest child, who's in foster care.
She was 9 or 10 months into her supervised visits, and the social worker that my sister was involved with, she told me that she was making progress.
That's odd. It's not like her to miss a visitation.
So I really noticed, okay, something's going on.
If a parent is showing up consistently all the time and then they don't show up, it is a cause of concern.
And that was a warning sign that she might be missing.
Okay, I'll try to see if I can get a hold of her.
After getting off the phone with the social worker, Isaac tries to reach his sister, but fails.
Hey, V, it's Isaac. Give me a call when you get a chance.
Even more troubling, Isaac realizes he hasn't talked to Veronica in over a week.
I would have a conversation with my sister at least once a week. It was like clockwork.
And as he soon learns, no one else in the family has heard from her either.
I called both my brothers. Hey, when's the last time you heard from Veronica? And they said, well, I haven't heard from her in like a couple of weeks. I was like, there's something really wrong going on here.
Veronica Jones' life had long been a struggle for stability.
We had it really rough as kids coming up. Me and my older brother, Smokey, we were mostly in the foster homes together. But my little brother, David, and Veronica living with their dad. They got kicked out of their dad's house and they went off to a children's shelter. So my mom, she went to the court. She got custody of the 4 of us.
But even as an adult, Veronica still carried the baggage of her traumatic childhood.
She battled with depression and anxiety.
She had been diagnosed with being bipolar, and she had social anxiety.
She also struggled in her relationships with men.
She had a hard time accepting that another person liked her, and that could have came from a variety of different things. But I just know the aftermath is that she really had a hard time maintaining relationships.
Veronica had drifted in and out of relationships for most of her adult life.
But while Veronica's relationships never lasted, they weren't without consequences.
She was the mother of 9, but she had given up all of her children to either family or foster homes.
She never was taught how to love. She never was taught how to really care for people and be passionate and protect your kids.
Still battling depression, she entered her 30s lost and alone.
She kind of drifted here and there, going into Nevada, staying for a time there.
She had an addiction with gambling. She was often catching a Greyhound bus from Stockton to Carson City, Nevada. She was constantly making those trips, at least once a month. Casinos all around that city made her happy.
But with the birth of her youngest son in 2009, Veronica decided it was time to make some major changes.
The baby ended up in foster care, but this time she was determined to get him back.
She was making an effort to improve her life. She had went to rehab. She was working with CPS.
Veronica also joined a support group.
Veronica Jones had been attending group classes, and she had been seeking the mental health treatment that she needed in order to get her life back in line.
But in the group, Veronica found more than she'd hoped for when she met Devon Epps.
First time here?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
Relax. These meetings really helped me out a lot.
Devon Epps had suffered from severe mental illness from an early age.
They started talking after sessions, grabbing coffee and hanging out.
It didn't take long to realize they had a lot in common.
They both have that shared experience of dealing with a mental illness.
It was something that they could relate to each other about. So they found support in each other.
That's where their relationship flourished from.
And soon after they met, Veronica and Devon decided to take the next step.
Hey, sweetheart.
They had moved in together after only knowing each other for a few weeks.
They were just in love, and they wanted to be with each other all the time.
Their apartment in downtown Stockton wasn't much, but it was everything for Veronica and Devon.
See, you made my favorite.
The area was not the desirable area, but for them starting off, they were able to reach some goals when they moved in together, and things started to look up for Veronica and Devon.
But now Veronica has missed a scheduled visitation with her youngest son.
Her phone kept going to voicemail.
I really noticed, okay, something's going on.
Considering her background, maybe her mental health broke down, and then she didn't call. So it could have been a red flag.
However, Veronica's brother does eventually get Devon on the phone.
Hey, I'm looking for Veronica. Have you heard from her?
I'd let her boyfriend know that, hey, there's something going on.
Devon's response takes Veronica's brother by surprise.
Devon said he hadn't heard from her.
Because according to him, Veronica left him for another man.
More secrets are revealed once we return with more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
Life is so much more than a diagnosis. It's about sharing time with those you love, hanging with friends who lift you up, and experiencing all those moments that bring you joy. All hits, no skips. Learn more about Kisqali Ribociclib 200 milligrams at KISQALI.com and talk to your doctor to see if Kisqali is right for you. So long live singing to the oldies, jamming out to something new, and everything in between.
After years of struggling with depression and mental illness, Veronica Jones had finally found a stable, loving home in Stockton, California, with her boyfriend, Devon Epps.
I think we're all looking for love and connection, especially if you're dealing with depression.
Of all the relationships my sister had, that was the most solid relationship.
But now, according to what Devon just told her brother, Veronica has left him for someone else.
According to Devon, the day before Veronica went missing, they met up with a neighbor named Michael who lives in the apartment complex with them, and Devon was not cool with that. He really didn't like Michael.
According to him, Michael was always hanging around Veronica.
I see the way he looks at her.
And that afternoon, when they went to the park, Veronica had invited Michael along.
Hey! Michael was hungry, wanted to get a sandwich, and Veronica wanted to buy it for him. So she asked Devon for money, and Devon said no.
I said, hell no, he can do it with his own money. She didn't like that.
According to Devon, they got into an argument.
He says Veronica and Michael spent the rest of the afternoon at the park avoiding him.
He would be in one area of the park. Veronica would be in a complete opposite side of the park.
And the last time he saw Veronica, she was leaving with Michael.
Had Veronica simply walked away from yet another relationship?
That was the other day, but she's been acting off for a while.
There were indications that his sister was falling back into her old familiar pattern.
Our mother had passed away, and she clearly slipped into a really, really deep, deep depression.
This was yet another stressor that would maybe cause her to feel more down or increase her low self-esteem.
Isaac had initially ignored the warning signs.
It was upsetting, but at the same time, it was normal to see her crying because she suffered from depression. Plus, she was diagnosed with being bipolar.
But now that his sister has gone silent, Veronica's brother fears something is really wrong.
I started getting Stockton police involved.
What brings you in today?
Isaac puts in a police report for his sister because she's been missing.
No one has been able to reach her.
But will the police take it seriously?
How old is your sister? She's 35.
They tell me that she has a right to not contact friends or family. And I say, I get that. I understand that. But I'm telling you my sister is missing.
Does your sister have a history of substance abuse? Well,
she had a bit of a drinking problem, but no substance. No crack, cocaine, nothing like that.
But she does have a bit of a gambling problem.
Okay.
And she suffers from depression.
Isaac started getting the sense that the police weren't taking his sister's disappearance too seriously.
The apartment is located in one of the more troubled areas of Stockton. Individuals who live in this area, their behavior can be unpredictable. Maybe they believed that eventually she would show up.
You're not listening.
Which really made me angry, and I was like, she only lives about 5 or 6 blocks away from the police station. Can you guys go do a health and welfare on her to go see what's going on?
Goaded by her brother, detectives do eventually follow up on Veronica's disappearance.
The police go over to Veronica and Devon's apartment, knock on the door, no one answers, and so they leave a note for Devon to get in contact with them.
Detectives also speak to the apartment manager.
Can I help you?
yes, we're looking for Veronica Jones.
I haven't seen her around here in a while.
Okay. Do you know if a Michael Thomas lives in the building?
Yeah, he's on the first floor.
She's able to confirm that Michael and Veronica were actually friends.
And honestly, I don't know why.
She didn't feel Michael was a good person.
But that's not the only thing the manager says that makes detectives suspicious of Michael.
She said that Michael always had women coming in and out of the house.
She's heard women yelling from the apartment.
At one point, there was a situation where a woman was locked in his apartment and the authorities were called.
You mean he was holding her inside against her will?
Yeah, something like that.
More secrets are revealed once we return with more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
Detectives investigating Veronica Jones's disappearance have just learned that the missing 35-year-old's neighbor, Michael Thomas, has a history of violence toward women.
I've had to call the police on him several times.
The apartment manager heard women yelling from the apartment, a lot of stuff going on there that was concerning to her. The building manager has actually told the police that the last time she saw Veronica, she was in fact with Michael the day Veronica went missing.
After speaking with the manager, detectives knock on Michael's door.
Do you know Veronica Jones?
Yeah, she lives upstairs.
They tell him they're looking for Veronica. He tells the police that he hasn't seen her since Saturday.
Around what time was that on Saturday?
Like 4 o'clock when we came in from the park.
He did admit that she, in fact, did go home with them, but he also said that they parted ways on the stairs.
He also suggests that they're questioning the wrong man.
According to Michael, Veronica and Devon were fighting at the park.
Michael did say that Veronica was very upset. She mentioned that she was done with Devon.
Veronica told him that she was ready to leave Devon and was going to get a bus to Oakland.
Does that mean Veronica had actually left Devon? Or was Michael just trying to misdirect the detectives?
The cops are really questioning Michael at this point, letting him know that the building manager has told them a lot about him and his behavior.
And now that Veronica's missing, well,
you can see how that can be a little bit concerning to us.
Michael indicated that, yeah, there are a lot of women that come in and out of his apartment.
I'm not gonna lie, things get a little carried away sometimes. But that doesn't mean I did anything to Veronica.
At this point, the cops are really seeing Michael as a suspect. And they asked to come into the apartment to look around.
Sure. I ain't got nothing to hide.
So when they enter the apartment, they notice that the apartment is a little unkept. It's dirty, clothes and dishes everywhere.
But there's no sign of Veronica.
Given the mess, it doesn't appear that Michael likely cleaned up a crime scene either.
Leaving the apartment building, detectives pay a visit to the bus station around the corner.
Excuse me. Do you recognize this woman?
They talk to some of the staff there, and they show them a picture of Veronica.
Yeah, she comes in here sometimes.
They do recognize the photo as Veronica and tell the detectives that she does ride the city line from time to time.
Oh, really?
They have seen her around, but the clerk at the front desk says that Veronica has not purchased a bus ticket.
At least not at the counter.
You can purchase your ticket from the kiosk. So the police decide at that point to see if maybe Veronica used the kiosk to purchase her bus ticket.
The detectives request records from the bus company.
Back at the station, detectives also reach out to Veronica's brother.
Isaac said even though it wasn't unheard of for his sister to hop on an inner city bus, she didn't know anyone in Oakland.
She really doesn't have any ties in the Bay Area. Her ties are in Carson City, Stockton, and Fairfield.
Okay, thank you.
So I think that was just a distraction to kind of take the focus and attention off of him and that apartment building.
And after detectives pull Michael's criminal record, they suspect that Veronica's brother is right.
Michael has a long history of violence and sexual offenses.
He's had multiple charges for indecent exposure and has been arrested on assault and battery in the past.
He also had a restraining order because of domestic violence.
So was it really just a coincidence that he was the last person seen with Veronica?
More secrets are revealed once we return with more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
Life is so much more than a diagnosis. It's about sharing time with those you love, hanging with friends who lift you up, and experiencing all those moments that bring you joy. All hits, no skips. Learn more about Kisqali Ribociclib 200 milligrams at KISQALI.com and talk to your doctor to see if Kisqali is right for you. So long live singing to the oldies, jamming out to something new, and everything in between.
Neighbor Michael Thomas has told the detectives searching for 35-year-old Veronica Jones that the missing woman may have taken a bus to Oakland.
I think it was more of a distraction than anything else. Let's shift the focus off of him in that apartment building.
Because it turns out, Michael has a rap sheet full of assault and indecent exposure charges.
He's also under a domestic violence restraining order.
Veronica's not the woman who took out the restraining order, but Michael's record is enough to warrant a closer look.
The detectives decide to reach out to Michael and see if he would make a statement.
Michael agrees to go down to the police station for questioning, but he is a lot less cooperative than he was before.
I already told you guys. I didn't know she was missing until you knocked on my door.
After meeting with the detectives, he went downstairs and beats on Devon's door asking, "Where is Veronica?"
You thought you was going to leave me? Where's Veronica? I don't know. I'm telling you, I think he did something.
We know all about your record.
Maybe things just got a little carried away.
The detectives start to lean on Michael.
But Michael stands his ground.
Just because I got a record doesn't mean anything.
Michael has this smug attitude.
Michael tells the detectives, "You can't charge me with murder, and if you did, he could beat it." Even though the detectives are very suspicious, they know Michael is right. They don't have enough to charge him.
But detectives aren't about to rule him out as a possible suspect.
After Michael's comment about beating a murder charge, detectives ask him if he'd be willing to take a polygraph.
Sure would make things go a lot faster.
Right? Exactly. You pass the polygraph, you have nothing to do with her being missing.
No way. I'm not taking you out this.
Michael rejected the request to take the polygraph test.
Does that mean he has something to hide?
But Michael was right, and they can't arrest him just because of his record.
All right. I guess you're free to go.
Detectives have no choice but to let Michael go.
One of the hardest things about this job is when you have a good suspect but no actionable evidence.
Or is it possible Michael is telling the truth?
Check these out.
The detectives received the report back from the bus station, and there was someone that in fact did buy a ticket through the kiosk using cash to Oakland.
Since whoever bought the ticket used cash, detectives can't determine if it was actually Veronica or not.
With no other leads, the case grows cold.
This is still a missing persons case involving a grown woman with mental health issues who is known for taking buses to other cities. Unfortunately, this just wasn't their top priority.
As far as the detectives are concerned, it's entirely possible that Veronica dumped her boyfriend and skipped town. However, Veronica's family disagrees.
Veronica Jones's family, understandably, were not happy with the level of investigation.
They dropped the ball. That's really what it boils down to.
Veronica's family decided to take things into their own hands. They went around town and posted these posters on different places where Veronica frequently went.
I put out like hundreds of them across Stockton. Put them all up over at the Greyhound bus station. I even made a trip out to Nevada to post up missing persons flyers of the places where I knew she would go over in Carson City.
What's going on, man?
He also leaves flyers with Devon.
I was like, post them up around the places where you and Veronica would go and hang out at. So We had all the areas covered.
The family at this point is convinced that something did happen to Veronica.
I believe there's foul play going on at Stockton PD. They said they don't have probable cause to get a warrant to go over there. A lot of it had to do with my sister being declared a transient. So I think they have in their mind she's going back and forth between Stockton and Carson City. You know, maybe there's nothing serious going on.
It's not a crime to be missing themselves. So that's how they probably looked at this case in Veronica Jones, that she had just gone somewhere and she was on her own and just not wanting to be found.
Veronica's disappearance also appears to be taking a heavy toll on her boyfriend, Devon Epps.
Devon seems to be in somewhat of a downward spiral. Neighbors in the apartment building made reports of hearing him screaming, banging things around, loud noises.
It sounded as if Devon was having a fight with someone.
Tenants can even hear him saying to himself in the apartment, "Keep it up, B. I will F you up."
I told you to shut up. She wouldn't listen.
It sounded as if he was fighting with Veronica Jones.
But Veronica has been missing for months.
Are you okay? If you need to talk to someone,
the apartment manager would go and knock on the door to see if everything was okay.
Devon never answers, and his outbursts become louder and more frequent.
There was the ranting and raving coming out of that apartment throughout the night, throughout the day. Just total chaos.
Tenants in the building simply didn't know if he was at the point of just losing it.
He was acting erratically. There was something severely wrong with his behavior.
Finally, after months of complaints, the apartment management decides they've had enough.
Devon Epps had been a problem for the apartment manager a long time. And then finally, I guess because of his shouting, his bizarre behavior, they finally decided to basically kick him out of the apartment.
And on the afternoon of December 4th, when Devon returns home after stepping out for an errand, the manager is waiting.
The manager prevents Devon from entering into the apartment and actually hands him an eviction notice.
You kicking me out?
look, there have been a lot of complaints.
You don't understand. She's in there. She's in there.
Who's in there?
Veronica's in there.
He began to yell, curse, scream.
And that's when he drops a bombshell.
Okay, you need to listen to me.
She's been beaten up, Dad.
I hear you. What are you talking about?
Oh, my God.
Wait!
More secrets are revealed once we return with more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
Life is so much more than a diagnosis. It's about sharing time with those you love, hanging with friends who lift you up, and experiencing all those moments that bring you joy. All hits, no skips. Learn more about Kisqali Ribociclib 200 milligrams at KISQALI.com and talk to your doctor to see if Kisqali is right for you. So long live singing to the oldies, jamming out to something new, and everything in between.
When management attempts to evict Devon Epps from the apartment he shared with his missing girlfriend, Veronica Jones, he makes a startling claim.
He says that Veronica is in the apartment and she needs help real bad.
This actually takes them by surprise since Veronica has actually been missing for 6 months.
Who's in there?
Veronica's in there.
What are you talking about?
He says that someone set him up and someone jumped him.
He kept repeating this over and over again, that they beat her real bad.
He indicated that Veronica was in the apartment for days or weeks or months and that she hadn't eaten.
We gotta get her.
Calm down.
He says that Veronica couldn't eat because she didn't have a face.
What are you talking about?
That was definitely a very eerie comment.
He kept repeating this over and over again, and then he just took off running.
Oh my God, wait!
Concerned by Devon's bizarre statements, the manager decides to enter the apartment.
She went with maintenance actually to open the apartment, and that's when they made the grisly discovery.
Oh, what is that?
There was a really putrid smell, a really terrible smell upon opening the door, and it was obviously not normal.
Inside the bathroom, the manager and the maintenance man find the source of the odor.
They're actually shocked at what they saw. There was a badly decomposed body on the bathroom floor.
It didn't appear to even be a human body.
It was so long in decomposition that it was hard to even recognize it as a woman.
However, the manager has little doubt that they finally found Veronica.
The police arrive and they tape off the entire building.
While in the bathroom, authorities try to piece together just what happened.
The body is on its back and is on top of what appears to be a pile of laundry.
It was difficult to tell the cause of death because it had been so long that she'd been sitting on the bathroom floor decomposing.
The head has suffered a tremendous amount of blunt force trauma.
Just as Devon had said, the body did not have a face. But given the circumstances, the detectives are pretty certain that that body is that of Veronica.
In the bathtub next to the body, detectives recover what they believe to be the murder weapon.
It was a leg from the table that had hair and blood on it.
Detectives also find evidence that while Devon didn't try to move the body, he at least attempted to disguise its presence.
There's a distinct odor of bleach in the bathroom with several cans of air freshener.
I'll call Isaac.
Devon has been living with the decomposed body for the past 6 months.
But does that mean he killed her?
During this time, he was having arguments with her. He was having conversations with her.
This association oftentimes stems from a tragic event, and what simply happens is they have like an out-of-body experience to the point where they suppress the actual events to protect themselves and have no memory of actually what happens.
Now it's up to detectives to determine just what memory Devon was trying to suppress.
Is he in denial because he brutally beat Veronica to death?
Or could it be that the disassociation began when he came home and found her body?
In his strange rant to the manager, he did make it sound as if someone else had attacked Veronica.
Could Devon have found her after a deadly attack by Michael? Detectives realize they can't dismiss any of their suspects until they talk to Devon.
Apartment managers were able to stop him from entering into his apartment, and he lost it.
He fled from the apartment, and no one knows where he is now.
While they're not 100% sure that Devon is responsible for Veronica's death, finding him is the detective's first priority.
He's clearly unstable and potentially dangerous.
It is imperative that they get him off the streets.
Detectives issue a bolo for Veronica's boyfriend, and then reach out to her brother Isaac, who's already aware that his sister has been found.
I just so happened to be watching the news, and the local news channel over here, they had a camera pointing up at that apartment building that my sister stayed in, and that was enough for me. I already knew what the heck was going on. I already knew it.
Soon after, police take Devon into custody, only a few blocks from his apartment.
Once he got kicked out of the apartment, he was found in the street and arrested.
Once in the interrogation room, he agrees to give detectives a statement.
Yes, Veronica.
He confirms that the body in the apartment is Veronica Jones. He tells the detectives that she lives there with him and he absolutely loves her.
Although, that's not all Devon tells detectives.
But she just made me upset because she just kept seeing other people.
To the detectives, this sounded like a prelude to a confession.
More secrets are revealed once we return with more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
Questioned by detectives after a decomposing body was found inside his apartment, it appears that 37-year-old Devon Epps is on the verge of confessing to the murder of his girlfriend.
He, in fact, confirms that the body in the apartment is Veronica Jones.
He also says that Veronica was seeing other men and that it upset him.
Maybe in the end, that was the reason he decided to kill her.
It sounds that way to detectives.
I just felt like I was losing her, and that upset me.
It's almost as if he's trying to justify what he'd done.
Upset you enough to kill her?
No, I didn't kill her. I loved her. Then do you know who did? Kirby. It was Kirby.
Kirby comes as a surprise to detectives since it's a name they have not heard before.
Detectives had considered Devon and Veronica's neighbor Michael the only persons of interest.
When detectives ask who Kirby is, Devon begins speaking incoherently.
I told you I didn't want to do this, man. Look, you're trying to get me in trouble. Look. Stop. I love you. You always do this. Look, get off my back. Get off my back. Stop.
He then begins to ramble to the point where they cannot understand what he's saying. And at that point, the detectives decide to end the interview.
Hoping for insight into Kirby's identity, detectives turn to Devon's sister.
She says that when Devon was a teenager, he started to have auditory hallucinations of Kirby.
Kirby is a fictional character or person inside of his mind that he created.
According to Devon, Kirby would tell him to do certain things.
His sister tells detectives that the voices are only one aspect of her brother's long struggle with mental illness.
He was diagnosed with schizophrenia in 1992. He had been in and out of state hospitals due to his severe symptoms as well as the crimes that had been committed.
And according to his sister, some of the incidents that landed him in the psych ward involved domestic violence.
He choked one of his former girlfriends to the point where she became unconscious, and he also beat her severely.
But as the autopsy report confirms, that pales in comparison to what he did to Veronica.
According to the medical examiner's report, it appears that Veronica suffered more than 25 blows to the head.
That she'd been stabbed 32 times.
No person should ever have to endure what my sister went through.
But can prosecutors make a murder charge stick?
His first appearance before the judge was so erratic that the judge decides to order a psychological evaluation to be done.
He was putting on a show, trying to portray this image that he's just completely lost it.
He had schizophrenia, but not enough so that he couldn't tell right from wrong.
Based on the psychological evaluation, the judge finds Devon competent to stand trial.
He didn't buy it, and the doctor didn't buy it either.
When Devon goes on trial in December of 2012, 1 year after Veronica's remains were discovered, the prosecution focuses on what Devon said in his statement to police.
Prosecutors actually argue that Devon was jealous of her being around other men and wanted to control her.
I could just imagine that with the tension and the anger that Devon would have had from that situation.
You like him, don't you?
Who?
Michael.
We're just friends.
Don't lie to me.
We're not doing this today.
Prosecutors believe that Devon actually tortures her and bludgeons her to death and leaves her there to die.
And jealousy played a major part, more so than schizophrenia.
When it's the defense's turn, they argue that what happened after proves otherwise.
The defense says that the fact that Devon lived in that apartment for 6 to 7 months, where there was only one bathroom where Veronica's body was, in fact proves that he was insane.
In the end, the jury finds the prosecution's argument far more convincing.
The jury does find Devon guilty of murder.
Everything points directly at him. Everything adds up.
He is sentenced to a life in prison without parole.
It is the tragic ending to a terrifying tale of twisted love.
I think in this case, it's difficult to define justice because when someone dies, nothing will ever bring that person back. I think when mental illness is involved, it's definitely a more difficult judgment to make as to whether someone is evil or not evil. But I think that the place for Devon Epps to be is definitely not in the streets.
I think she just found it hard to get away because of her mental state, so she was stuck in that relationship, which eventually killed her.
She had a hard time accepting that she was beautiful with all the abuse that she endured in her life. I wish Veronica knew that she was beautiful on the inside as well as the outside before she passed away.
A life filled with unspeakable pain should never be subject to further tragedy. Beloved mother and sister Veronica Jones will always be cherished and remembered by her family and loved ones. Dealing with a partner or family member who struggles with mental illness can be daunting. And here at the Fatal Attraction Podcast, we want you to know that there is help available.
Call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration at 1-800-662-HELP.
Coming up on the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
She was a single mother who finally got lucky in love.
He was this really handsome and charming doctor. The chemistry was instant.
Eyes met, hearts met.
Things started to get serious.
But then everything went horribly wrong.
Where's your emergency?
I'm afraid we have a dead body.
Tune in to the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast. We will see you in the next episode.